Hey guys, Darcy here. I wanted to go over something that I find is an opportunity to make sure that your dubs or your harmonies on songs are at the best that they can be. And sometimes I find that people don't make certain choices in their comping and their editing workflow around the dub track that ends up making their songs just not hit the level of professional that they could. Sorry, that's my phone right there. So what I wanted to do is kind of go over some of the things that I do to articulate some of these ideas for you. So first off, right, we transition to seeing the screen here, and what you'll see is this is like a final state of which I have for a song that I've worked on that I produced for a project coming up. It's actually an EP called Why Not. So I'm going to put on a limiter on this because it's going to be quiet when I show you my demo. So I'm going to show you some of this, what we have here and hear these dubs, and then I'm going to kind of backtrack and show you what they were originally and some of the problems that I see and certain plugins that people rely on too much and then don't get the results that they want entirely. So first off, let's just take a listen to these vocals in this part, and then I'll solo them. I just want to give you a sense. So let's listen to this part right here. This is the first verse of a track called She Wildin'.
They looking at us like we Bonnie and Clyde. Grab your popcorn, let's take a ride. Seeing us, I know it hurts, stay pride.
Okay, all right, so we hear these dubs. Now let's listen to just the dub and the main track and hear how they kind of vibe together.
They looking at us like we Bonnie and Clyde. Grab your popcorn, let's take a ride. Seeing us, I know it hurts, stay pride.
Right, okay. So you'll notice here that each one of my dub tracks are specifically cut out. There's fades in the beginning of end of each part, you see right here. And the reason I do this is for multiple reasons. One, I want a certain level of pristine clarity. So why did I cut these things out? Why is there fades? Well, let's go with the easy one first. So the fades is because whenever you cut a region, there's always a chance that there'll be a clicking or a popping sound or any kind of like error type sound that will come through when you fade, because it may look sound, but it's not really sound, so you actually have a technical problem. So essentially what I'm just doing here is making sure that it's going to sound clean. Now, why did I cut out all the silence? Okay, let's do a quick thing here. All right, let's duplicate this track. I'm going to turn my plugins off. And on this duplicate, I'm going to delete everything but this first one. I'm going to show you what this region sounds like on its own. Okay, so let's bring this out. And let's go solo this. And to really emphasize this point, I'm going to make this a +6 instead of a -6. So you can really hear the sounds that are coming through off of this microphone. And by the way, all of his stuff was recorded on a USB microphone. So there are inherent sound noise problems that come with USB microphones that had to be mixed out. Anyways, take a listen.
Clyde, ride, pride.
Okay, so you hear literal like electric signal sounds of static noise coming through, which is very inherent with USB microphones. Their quality is significantly less than a traditional microphone. You hear bleed from his headphones coming through into the microphone. You hear like lip smacking and breathing, right? These are all very normal things that are going to happen, minus the USB microphone sound. So we don't want that. Now, of course, first thing we could do, we can grab a plug-in, throw a gate on there, right? This first one I have here actually has a gate in here, and let's take a listen what the gate does. So we'll turn everything else off, and we'll just hear what a gate does on its own.
Clyde, ride.
See, it's almost perfect, but there's a couple of pops there that still kind of get through the gate, and obviously that's because, well, I could do a better job using my gate. Duh, right? But there's another set of problems that even after you get your gate perfect, and let's say it's 100% perfect, it doesn't, accidentally clip a little bit of a word and cut it out, which happens often. There's still another problem that I find that a lot of people will end here, call it a day, put a gate on it, and say, it's perfect, let's go. But there's a whole other set of opportunity towards getting the best possible sound that you can possibly get. Okay, so What I always do, and you already saw it, is I will cut out all of the silences. And what that's going to allow me to do is make individual regions. And why would I want to do that? And why would I even want to avoid using a gate in an often scenario? So let's answer those two questions. Okay. So why would I want to use a gate, or sorry, avoid using a gate? Well, the reason being is that if I don't use a gate, what I will get is the benefit of avoiding one more plugin. And the times that I get to avoid using one more plugin, then what I'm essentially doing is saving some processing power. I'm going to give my computer more ability to do more things, which is great because I can focus on the creative sounds. So one, why use processing you don't need? Okay. And two, when you get individual regions, you can move things around in such a way that works best for the song. Because let's be honest here, no artist is perfect, and they don't tend to do their dubs perfectly aligned. They'll say the word nearly identical, but it needs to be adjusted, it needs to be moved. So this is where the big opportunity comes. This is where your professional sound is going to really start to settle in. So let's go back to the screen real quick. And the thing is, you're first thinking, oh man, I gotta go through it. I gotta like manually, delete every single one and set fades, and it's so difficult. Let's backtrack this for a second. Any established DAW that's been around for a while has usually a feature. In Logic, I can do Control X and it'll bring up this interface. But let's show you where to find this. You click Function here, you come down, remove silence from audio region. So what this is going to do is essentially find the parts that are over a threshold or loud enough, and give you some pre-time before the point in which it finds a loud enough signal, some time after the signal, and how long the minimum amount of the sound being over needs to be. Bunch of these different settings. Your plugin or your DAW might be a little different, but regardless, all it's going to do is find the parts that you want it the part that you want to keep, and help you get rid of the parts you don't want to keep. So let's say I put this all back to pretty much the way that it was. I'll just adjust this a little bit, and boom. So we have audio regions we want to keep. We click OK. Boom, makes all the regions for us. While it's still selected, if we don't like something, let's drag this and make this shorter. Put our fades on, and well, I almost had it. And then boom, right? Now we have a bunch of the stuff cut up, ready to go. So one, that is not a hard step at all. It's actually really simple. Now two, why do we want to do this? Well, let's take a look here. All right. So let's say we find this one here and we're like, wow, these do not line up very well. Let's take a listen.
It hurts they pride.
Okay, so it's kind of pride, like they kind of like roll on each other. So now we have the ability to quickly just go and grab this stuff, try to see where it lines up nicely. And actually, let's bring this back down to -6. Actually, you know what? Let's leave it right there so it's loud and very clear to us. So now let's take another listen back.
I know it hurts they pride.
Now it's just a little bit better. And it's that little bit off that as you're listening as a listener, it can take you out of the enjoyment of the song. You just want the emphasis. You don't want to have to be like, did he like what was the word he said there? Okay, so one, now we can line this up. Now two, a lot of times even though you get the timing started right, it doesn't end the same. See how much longer it is? Now, by all means, that might sound great. And in this instance, I actually think it does. But let's hypothetically say it doesn't. So all your DAWs these days tend to also have something called flex time or flex this or something about warping and changing how long the signal is. So this one's called flex time in Logic. That I'm not trying to say Logic is better, because it doesn't matter. They all got them. Ableton's got it. Even Pro Tools has it, even though I've heard it's really cumbersome. So you can click on the different regions, and you have the ability to literally warp and change a signal so that it lines up better. Now, I don't think this would work in this case, but the point is when you have all the individual regions, because they're separate regions, it also makes it easier that when you flex, some of these will work in such a way that when you, of course, there's too much silence there. When you pull back, the signal after will also get stretched. And so when they're separate regions, it just helps with making that less of a problem. If these two things are connected, so let's say we actually like remove this one, drag this one all the way out, flex it. When we pull on it, sometimes if these aren't automatically put in, see what happens here. Get rid of that one. it won't go away. Sometimes it will drag the next one over. Sometimes. But regardless, the idea is that you're just trying to make your workflow a little simpler, a little cleaner. So these are two major steps towards getting your stuff clean. Cutting out the silences, and it's better to do it manually so that you don't have to waste processing. I mean, unless you're using a plugin that already has it in there, then the plugin's already engaged, so therefore the processing's always being used. Two, when you have it all separated, you get the ability to shift things around. Now I'm going to give you one more quick little tip to making your dub tracks not interfere with the main track. And the last one is throw some kind of de-esser on these things. So for instance, I have one I've already pulled up here called from Waves called Sibilance. And usually when I do this, I go and find some really heavy duty preset. So this one's got one called Bright Pop, and you can see it's got a really heavy threshold, like it's really pushing down there. And what this will do is it'll help to find any of those consonant sounds and just squash the heck out of them. So let's listen and see if we can find some, and then I'll engage this thing. So listen from the beginning.
Now that's like we Bonnie and Clyde. Grab your
Clyde. That I don't know how to spell Clyde, but the CL sound is really strong. So let's engage this and see what it does.
That's like we Bonnie and Clyde.
So we can see it was engaged. So let's take a listen to just a dub on its own, and I'm going to take it off and back on.
Clyde. Clyde.
Okay, so we can even go harder on this one if we really want to. Now it'll only get it so much, even put the detection even longer. Let's see what happens.
Clyde.
So it's a little softer, right? If I take it off,
Clyde.
back on,
Clyde.
it's a little softer. Now, when we listen to it with it on and off with the actual main vocal,
that's like we Bonnie and Clyde. That's like we Bonnie and Clyde. Grab your.
It's like you're just focusing more on that main vocal, and it's not doubling the sound of the Clyde, right? Listen to it again on and off.
It's like we Bonnie and Clyde. Now that's like we Bonnie and Clyde. Grab it.
It's softer, and that's good because you don't want to, as your song gets more processed and it goes to mastering, gets louder, things can get bigger and bigger, and also you can make it harder for your mastering engineer to have to try to solve these problems later because they have all of these sounds compiled together into one file, and they're trying to master it, and it's just as easy as if you get it right here, right now. So 3 things. Let me just summarize this real quick. 3 things to make your dub tracks, your harmonies, sound better. 1, remove all of the silences manually. It is not that hard of a step. That gives you, 2, the advantage to move your regions around, or whatever they call those things in the DAW, so that you can line up the words exactly with the words from before. 3, if you need to, use a flex tool, whatever they call it in the DAW, so that you can manipulate and get the words to sound the same way if the person's emphasizing it but doesn't sound right. And 4, use a de-esser to cut out any of those strong consonants so that it's not distracting to the main vocal. I swear, if you do these things, you're going to end up having a much better track. It's going to sound more professional. Your clients or even yourself are going to be way more happy. So yeah, hopefully you found this video helpful, and let me know with a like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to do some more videos like this that I feel like these small things that just don't get talked about enough, or very small nuggets in a video. I just feel like people need to know these things because it'll make your music better. Anyways, peace, y'all. Have a good day. I'm out.